Okay, today we are going to talk about breathing in and out. In the previous lesson, we talked about how gases diffuse across the wall of the alveolus and how alveolus is adapted for this diffusion. And also we talked about some functions of the some organs of the respiratory system. And now we are going to talk about the process of breathing in and out. This process actually is illustrated in your book, page 147. When we say breathing in means inhalation, and breathing out, it means exhalation. Also, it has another name. We can say for breathing in, inspiration, and for breathing out, expiration. All of them mean the same. Okay, when we say breathing in, when air gets inside your respiratory tract and when you are taking in oxygen mainly. When we say breathing out, when air rushes out of your respiratory tract out to the atmosphere and you are giving carbon dioxide mainly out. You are giving carbon dioxide out. So this diagram or this figure illustrates and shows how each one actually happens. What you have to know and what you have to describe the movement of diaphragm muscles, the movement of external intercostal muscles, and the movement of the rib cage, and what happens to the chest cavity, chest or thorax. Both mean the same. Chest and thorax mean the same. Okay, let's start with the first one, which is breathing in. Which one do you think is breathing in? The one which is on the left or the right? Of course, the one which is on the left. When air gets in, look at the arrows. When air gets inside the body, so the one which is on the left. Here, in breathing in, the diaphragm already it has a dome shape muscle or sheet. When we say sheet means it is flattened. When we say dome shape, as you see, it is like dome shape. It is not straight. It is dome. Okay, so this is the original shape of the diaphragm muscles. We have to know this. Okay, now in order for lungs to take as much as they can oxygen, so they need to expand and they need to have the greatest volume ever. Okay, so for lungs to take so much oxygen and not to be disturbed by any other muscles or bones, so this dome shape should go down. So it is a muscle. When it moves, it contracts. So in breathing in, diaphragm contracts moving down and the intercostal muscles also contract. So both muscles contract. The muscle of the diaphragm and the intercostal muscle, the external ones, okay, not the internal. The internal, they have another role. So both of them contract while breathing in. The diaphragm moves down and the intercostal muscles actually move outward. They contract moving outward and up. So once they move out away from lungs, they pull the rib bones or the rib cage actually to move with them. Because as you see, do you see the intercostal muscles? They are the red ones because they are muscles, and the white ones between intercostal muscles are the rib bones. Okay, or the ribs. So here, the ribs that are white and intercostal muscles, the ones that are red or within darker color. So both intercostal muscles and rib now are moving out and up. So there is enough room for lungs to expand. So what happens now to the thorax cavity or the volume of the chest? It increases for taking as much as it can air from the outside environment. So once the volume increases, what happens to the pressure of gases inside? As you know, when we have anything that its volume increases, the volume is inversely proportional with the pressure of gases. As volume increases, then the gases, they have enough space now to move further and away from each other, so the pressure of the gases, they do not collide each other as they are trapped, or the volume is less. When the volume gets greater now, the collision between them decreases, and so the pressure that they exert on the lungs, or the wall or the lining of the lungs, actually is decreasing. So what happens now? The pressure of the air outside is greater than the pressure inside. So now the particles, the gases now are concentrated more outside. So the particles move according to diffusion down their concentration gradient from the area of the high concentration, which is outside, to the area of lower concentration, which is inside the body. So the air moves inside. Now, the opposite takes place while breathing out. While breathing out, the diaphragm now relaxes. When it relaxes, it gets to its original shape, which is dome-like structure. So it is going up, relaxes, going up. So what other also relaxes? The intercostal muscle. So intercostal muscles relax with the diaphragm. Now, intercostal muscles, once they react, they get back to their original position. They get inward and down. Also pulling the ribs with them. The ribs move down and inward, pressing on the lungs. Now, once they press on the lungs, look at the volume of the chest, or the volume of the lungs. It has decreased. So now the volume decreases, the pressure of the gases inside the lung increases. Now gases are trapped. So they are more concentrated inside the body than outside. So they move according to the diffusion or the particle theory. They move from the area of high concentration, which is inside, to the area of low concentration, which is outside the body. So you have to be able to describe the movement of muscle of diaphragm and the intercostal muscles, and the ribs, how they move, and what happens to the volume of the thorax or the chest cavity, and to the pressure. Everything is illustrated also in the worksheet. Now, let's compare. It's very important to recognize the difference between breathing, gas exchange, and cell respiration. When we say breathing, it's the process of breathing, the movement of the ribs, muscles, and so on, just getting air in and out. That's it. When we say gas exchange, we are talking about what happens to carbon dioxide and oxygen, what goes into the blood and what goes out of the blood. This is what is meant by gas exchange, the movement of gases. When we talk about cell respiration, we talk about the releasing of energy, which is chemical reaction that needs a breaking down of food in order to release energy. And mainly this happens with the presence of oxygen. That's why breathing is important, to provide cells with oxygen for respiration process. So when we say respiration, it doesn't mean just taking in oxygen. No, we need to release energy mainly by using oxygen. So oxygen is needed to break down the food in order to make energy produced by the reaction. So you have to know the main definition of each. It's very important to recognize the main difference between them. Now, let's go and compare between inspired and expired air. Inspired when you get air in, breathing in, and expired when you get it out. This is actually also illustrated in your book, page 148, and in the worksheet. As we know that air is a mixture of gases, it contains many gases together, not only oxygen and carbon dioxide, but only what your body takes in or gives off. It depends on the concentration gradient and what your body needs. Now, as we know that nitrogen is the most abundant gas in the atmosphere, which is about 79% in the air. Oxygen, it is 21. I'm talking about inspired air which is found outside. Okay, I'm talking about the air outside, which is inspired because we get it in from outside. So nitrogen is 79%, oxygen 29, carbon dioxide 0.04. I'm talking about water vapor later on. Now let's discuss these percentages. Now, nitrogen, as you notice in inspired and expired air, it is the same percentage. It doesn't change. Why? Because it is not being used by the body. It is not used. We do not take nitrogen from the atmosphere. We take it from our food, from proteins. So nitrogen stays the same. Once air gets in, with 79% of nitrogen, it gets out also with the same amount or with the same percentage or ratio. This is the explanation. You have to know it because you are going to be asked for. Oxygen, it's a 21, and in the expired air, when it gets 16, why? Because it reduces or it decreases. Why? Because it is used in respiration. It is the main gas that is used by the cells in respiration process. So that's why oxygen ratio or amount decreases in expired air. Carbon dioxide, it is 0.04 in inspired air. Now when you expire it or when you exhale it, it is about 4%. So why this amount? Because it is produced in respiration as a waste product. It's very important to know the explanation. Now let's talk about water vapor. Water vapor, of course, it's variable. It depends on the humidity outside. Sometimes the environment around you it's dry, sometimes it's humid. So it depends on the humidity, it depends on the season, it depends on the area that you are. And so it varies according to the environment. But always in the expired air, it is saturated. We have water droplets. Why? Because we have moisture air inside the body. Always the temperature is 37. And we have water is going out or getting out also by respiration. So water at 37, we have evaporation. So that's why always it is saturated or always high. Okay, if you want to talk about the temperature, also the temperature varies. It depends on the environment around you. And inside the body, of course, we are endotherms. Our body keeps constant internal environment. So the temperature inside our body is always around 37, which is warm. Okay. Now, let's go and talk about breathing rate. Breathing rate, as we know, when we ever talk about rate, we talk about anything that is measured over time. So, breathing rate varies. When you are at resting is different from when you are exercising or working out. It's different from if you are nervous or confused or you are angry. Also, if you drink lots of caffeine or power drinks, it depends. Now we are going to talk about the factors that affect the breathing rate. But before talking about these factors, let's talk about the spirogram that shows the breathing rate. A spirogram as we see, it's like a diagram that appears with lung capacity versus time. Lung capacity, it means how much can the lung contain, how can the lung contains air inside, how much it can. Okay, this is what is meant by capacity. Of course, versus time, since it is rate, it is measured by a device which is called the spirometer, and this diagram which is shown by the spirometer, it is called the spirogram. Okay, let's clarify some issues here. When we say tidal volume is the volume of air breathed in and out during one normal resting breath. So it's resting breath. So it's very important when you are breathing normally. Okay, when you are at resting, when you are not exercising, or when you are not mad or angry, when you are at resting, the volume of your breath is called tidal volume. So, once you are exercising, as we know, because of physical activity, you need more oxygen, your muscles need to respire more, they need more energy, and the pH also should be kept constant within safe levels. That's why the heart rate increases to provide the cells with enough oxygen, to supply them with enough oxygen. From where does the heart take oxygen? Of course, from lungs. So lungs also should increase their activities and the breathing rate should increases. Okay. Vital capacity is the maximum volume of air breathed in and out from deepest inhalation to deepest exhalation. Okay, so when it is the greatest, we call it vital capacity. As you see, the one which is on the right, the greatest one, which is at the peak, the greatest one. When you are exercising, the maximum volume of air it can be breathed by your lungs when you are exercising. Okay, let's work it out here. Now, if I want to find rate, a breathing rate, it depends on time. So this is at resting. This is the one at resting, and here the physical activity is increasing. You start warming up, then it increases to the maximum. This is the maximum amount of air it can be breathed by your lungs. Okay, the maximum one, it is called vital capacity. Do you see it? This is the maximum one. The normal one here, this from inhalation to exhalation, this is called tidal volume. At resting it is called tidal, but the volume here, the maximum one, it is called vital. Okay, so you have to recognize them very well. Now, if I want to find the rate at resting, I take it from peak to the next peak like this, from one point to exactly another point, and I measure the time taken for the area from here to here. Okay, and I find it over 60 seconds if I want to find it over 60 seconds. The same for activity. If I ask you to find the rate when this person is exercising, not at resting, the same. From here to the next one here, this time, or from down this point, the bottom point, to the next one. It doesn't matter. What it matters actually, that you should take it from one point to the next point exactly. If I want to take it from here, I end up with here, okay? So I take it the same point. Okay. It's very important to find the rate, the same as the rate of the heartbeat. You find it from up to up or down to down, or we call it from crest to crest or trough to trough. From one point to the exactly another point, from inhalation to another inhalation, or from exhalation to another exhalation, because everyone like this, if I want to take this inhalation, because the volume is increases of the lung, so it is inhalation. And when it drops down or falls down, this is what? Exhalation. So this with this, only one breath. Do you see it? To make it clear for you, here to here, it is only one breath, one inhalation with one exhalation. Do you see? So that's why if you want to take it from one point, you should go to the next point exactly. It is wrong just to take like this, to take it from here to here. No, this is wrong. This is wrong. You should not take it from here to here. You should take it from here to the exactly next point here. Exactly, the second one. Okay? So please, if you want to practice more, watch the videos more, inshallah we are going to solve the questions and you're gonna have more practice about these points. Now let's talk about the factors affecting breathing rate. Smoking, of course, smoking as carbon monoxide increases because it's a main component of tobacco cigarette. That's why it increases the heart rate, because as we said that hemoglobin binds more efficiently with carbon monoxide than with oxygen. At the same time, nicotine in smoking increasing blood pressure. Okay, so that's why it increases the heart rate on the long run. But immediately when you smoke on the spot, the breathing rate increases because carbon monoxide now gives an alert to your body, because hemoglobin is combining with it now. Okay. Anxiety of course increases breathing rate, because when you are anxious or when you don't sleep very well and so on, the adrenaline hormone is produced and you are going to have more about adrenaline in homeostasis, so this increases breathing rate. Drugs also, we have some drugs that are stimulants that increases heart rate, and we have other drugs that are depressants that decreases breathing rate or heart rate. Environmental factors, such as if you have carbon dioxide, there is combustion or burning, temperature, humidity, all of these increases the breathing rate. Altitude, of course. If you are at high altitude, then the concentration of oxygen gets lower, then your lungs need to work harder in order to get enough oxygen. Weight, also because of fat deposition, because they may block some arteries from getting oxygen supply. That's why breathing rate increases. Thank you.